Most people think their problem with English is grammar, vocabulary, or accent. That's a lie they've been told for years. The real problem is that nobody ever taught them how the brain actually learns to speak. You understand English, you watch English content, you even think you know English. But the moment you have to speak, everything collapses. Not because you're bad at English, but because you were trained the wrong way from the beginning. This video is not about motivation, and it's definitely not about fake promises like perfect English in 30 days. This is about reality, about why intelligent people still struggle to speak, about why confidence disappears in conversations, and about why memorizing rules never converts into real fluency. We're going to break English down logically, scientifically, and practically, no emotional drama, no textbook nonsense. If you've ever felt stuck at the same level for years, if you translate in your head before speaking, if your mind goes blank in front of people, or if you feel your English is better in your head than in your mouth, this video is for you. We'll build a system that works in real life, not classrooms. A system that trains your brain, not your fear. So forget perfection, forget accent obsession, forget comparison. By the end of this video, you'll understand one simple truth. Fluent English is not a gift, it's a predictable result of the right process. The brutally honest foundation of perfect English. Let's kill the biggest myth first. There is no such thing as perfect English. Even native speakers mess up daily. They forget words, mispronounce things, use broken sentences, and nobody cares. So if your goal is 0 mistakes, you're already playing the wrong game. The real goal is clear, confident, natural communication. That's it. English is a tool, not a personality test. Most people don't struggle with English because of grammar. They struggle because of fear, fear of sounding stupid, fear of judgment, fear of pauses. Your brain goes into survival mode, and suddenly even simple sentences disappear. This is not a language problem, this is a psychological problem. And psychology always comes before vocabulary. Here's a scientific fact. Fluency comes from frequency, not intelligence. The brain builds language through repeated exposure and usage. Kids don't learn English by memorizing tenses. They learn it by hearing and copying thousands of sentences. Adults overcomplicate it because the education system trained them to chase marks, not mastery. Another hard truth. If you understand English but can't speak it, your input is high but output is 0. Watching videos, reading books, and listening to podcasts are passive skills. Speaking is an active skill. You don't learn swimming by watching swimming tutorials. You learn by getting into water. Same logic, 0 emotion. Now let's talk about accent, because people are obsessed with it. Accent is not the problem. Clarity is. If your message is understandable, your accent is irrelevant. The world doesn't reward British or American accents. It rewards people who can explain ideas clearly. Confidence beats accent every single time. From today, stop saying, "My English is weak." That sentence is programming your brain to fail. Say this instead, "My English is improving." The brain believes repetition. Language learning is neurological training, not motivation talk. In this video series, we're not doing textbook English. We're doing real-world English, the kind that works in interviews, debates, social situations, and professional life. Practical, logical, repeatable systems. No drama, no fake motivation. In the next part, we'll break down why most people stay stuck for years despite studying English, and the exact trap you must avoid if you want real fluency. Why most people stay stuck for years, the invisible trap. Now let's talk about the real reason people stay stuck at the same English level for years, even after classes, courses, YouTube videos, and books. The problem is not effort. The problem is misdirected effort. Most learners are running fast in the wrong direction and then wondering why they're not reaching anywhere. The biggest trap is overlearning rules and underusing language. People spend months memorizing grammar charts, tense tables, and advanced vocabulary lists, but they rarely convert that knowledge into speech. Your brain doesn't speak in rules. It speaks in patterns. When you try to speak using rules, your brain slows down, searches memory, panics, and you freeze. Another major issue is translation addiction. You think in your native language first, then translate into English. This is deadly for fluency. Translation creates delay, confusion, and unnatural sentences. Fluent speakers don't translate, they respond. And response only comes when English sentences are already stored in your brain as ready-made chunks. Let's be very practical here. If you're thinking, first I'll learn perfect grammar, then I'll start speaking, you'll never speak. Because grammar has no finish line. There's always another rule, another exception, another condition. Fluency doesn't wait for permission from grammar books. Then there's the confidence illusion. Many people say, I know English, but I lack confidence. That's half true and half excuse. Confidence doesn't come first, clarity comes first. When you know what sentence to say, confidence automatically follows. When you don't know the sentence, no amount of motivation will save you. Another silent killer is passive consumption. Watching English videos feels productive, but if you're not pausing and speaking, your mouth is not getting trained. Language lives in the muscles, tongue, lips, jaw, not just in the brain. If you don't physically speak, your pronunciation and flow will never improve. Also, stop waiting for the right environment. There is no perfect English environment coming to save you. You have to create pressure. Your brain only adapts when there's demand. If English is optional in your life, your brain will treat it as optional. One more uncomfortable truth. Many people are emotionally attached to being a learner instead of becoming a speaker. Learning feels safe. Speaking feels risky, but growth always lives on the risky side. If you're not embarrassing yourself a little, you're not progressing. So the rule is simple: less theory, more speaking, more repetition, more real sentences. How the brain actually learns to speak English: no myths, only science. The human brain does not learn a language the way schools teach it. Schools teach English like a subject. The brain learns English like a skill. This difference changes everything. When you speak, your brain is not recalling grammar rules one by one. It is firing pre-built neural pathways made of sounds, words, and sentence patterns. That's why fluent speakers don't think before speaking. They recognize situations and respond automatically. Neuroscience shows that language fluency is built through pattern recognition and repetition, not conscious rule application. When you repeatedly hear and use a sentence like, "I'll get back to you," your brain stores it as a single unit, not as separate words. Later, when a similar situation appears, your brain retrieves the entire chunk instantly. This is speed. This is fluency. Grammar comes later as refinement, not as the engine. This also explains why you can understand English movies but struggle to speak. Understanding uses recognition memory, while speaking requires recall memory, which is harder and slower. Most learners only train recognition, listening and reading, so their recall muscle remains weak. Then they panic during conversations because their brain has never practiced pulling sentences out under pressure. Another critical concept is cognitive load. When you try to speak while thinking about grammar, pronunciation, vocabulary, and correctness at the same time, your brain overloads and freezes. Fluent speakers reduce cognitive load by automating basics. They don't aim for perfect sentences. They aim for functional sentences that get the message across. This is why mistakes are not a problem. They are evidence of learning. Every mistake forces the brain to adjust neural connections. Avoiding mistakes actually slows progress. If you're always silent to avoid errors, your brain receives no feedback, and no learning happens. Silence feels safe, but it keeps you stuck. There's also muscle memory involved. Speaking is a physical activity. Your mouth, tongue, and jaw need repetition just like gym muscles. If you don't speak daily, your pronunciation will feel heavy and unnatural. This has nothing to do with intelligence, it's pure biology. Muscles improve only when they're used consistently. Finally, the brain needs context. Random vocabulary lists don't work because the brain remembers meaning through situations. Words learned inside sentences, stories, and real-life usage stick far better than isolated definitions. Context turns language into something usable instead of theoretical. In the next part, we'll get extremely practical and talk about thinking in English. What it actually means, why most advice around it is wrong, and how to train your brain to stop translating naturally. Thinking in English. What it really means and how to train it. Most people misunderstand the phrase, think in English. They imagine some magical switch where one day their brain suddenly stops using their native language and starts operating in English 24/7. That's not how the brain works. Thinking in English is not a decision, it's a byproduct of exposure and usage. You don't force it, you train it. The real enemy here is mental translation. Translation happens because your brain doesn't have ready-made English responses stored yet. So it takes the longer route, native language right-pointing arrow English. This delay kills fluency and increases anxiety. The solution is not try harder, but replace translation with direct association. That means connecting situations directly to English sentences without going through your native language. Here's how direct association works in real life. When you see a glass of water, you don't think of its definition, you just know it's water. Language works the same way. If every time you feel tired you say, I'm exhausted, your brain links that physical feeling directly to the English sentence. No translation needed. That's how thinking in English actually begins. Another mistake people make is trying to think in complex English too early. That's stupid and inefficient. Start with simple, high-frequency thoughts. Your daily internal dialogue is full of basic things: planning, reacting, commenting, judging. Convert that inner talk into simple English. Not perfect English, just usable English. Complexity grows automatically with time. You also need to understand that silence is not thinking. Many learners stay quiet hoping their brain will adjust. It won't. Thinking in English improves when speaking out loud becomes regular. Sound reinforces memory. When you hear yourself speak English, your brain treats it as real usage, not imagination. One powerful method is micro-commentary. Whatever you're doing, describe it in simple English. I'm opening my laptop. This video is interesting. I need to focus. These sentences look basic, but they are foundational. Fluency is built on boring repetition, not dramatic vocabulary. Stop chasing advanced words before mastering basic sentence flow. Advanced vocabulary without fluency is like installing premium software on a weak processor. It crashes under pressure. Fluency means your brain can produce sentences without panic, even if they're simple. Also, accept this truth. You will think in mixed language for a while. That's normal. That's progress, not failure. The brain gradually reduces dependency on translation as English patterns become familiar. Impatience here is the fastest way to quit. In the next part, we'll talk about speaking speed, pauses, and fluency flow. Why pauses are not your enemy and how to sound natural without speaking fast. Speaking speed, pauses, and the illusion of fluency. One of the biggest misconceptions about fluent English is that you need to speak fast. You don't. Speaking fast is not fluency, speaking smoothly is. Many native speakers speak slowly, pause often, and still sound confident because their thoughts are structured. Speed without control just turns into noise. Pauses are not a sign of weakness. They are a sign that your brain is organizing ideas. The real problem is panic during pauses. When learners pause, they mentally scream, I'm stuck, and that anxiety breaks the flow completely. Fluent speakers pause calmly. They don't apologize for it. They don't panic. They simply continue. Scientifically, the brain needs micro pauses to retrieve language chunks. When you rush, you increase cognitive load, which leads to stammering, filler overuse, and sentence collapse. Slower speech actually improves accuracy and clarity. Confidence comes from control, not speed. Now let's talk about fillers like, you know. These are not bad by default. Everyone uses them. The issue is overdependence. Fillers should buy you time, not replace thinking. A silent pause is often better than a noisy filler. Silence looks confident. Endless fillers look insecure. Another mistake is trying to sound impressive instead of sounding understandable. People force long sentences, complex words, and fake accents. This destroys natural rhythm. Real fluency sounds simple, direct, and relaxed. If your listener understands you easily, you are already doing well. Fluency flow is built through sentence chaining. Instead of trying to say everything in one long sentence, break ideas into short connected sentences. This reduces pressure and keeps momentum. Clarity improves automatically when ideas are released in parts. You also need to accept that your speaking pace will fluctuate. On some days, you'll speak smoothly. On others, you'll struggle. That's normal. Language performance depends on sleep, mood, stress, and context. Don't emotionally overreact to one bad conversation. Consistency beats mood. The fastest way to improve flow is daily low-pressure speaking, not occasional high-pressure speaking. 10 minutes every day is more powerful than 1 hour once a week. The brain adapts to frequency, not intensity. In the next part, we'll go deeper into pronunciation and clarity. What actually matters, what doesn't, and how to sound clear without obsessing over accent. Pronunciation, clarity, and the accent obsession problem. Let's clear this once and for all. Pronunciation is about being understood, not about sounding foreign or fancy. Most learners waste years trying to copy American or British accents, while their real issue is unclear sounds, weak word stress, and lazy articulation. Accent is cultural, clarity is functional, only one of them actually matters in real life. The brain understands speech through sound patterns, not individual letters. English spelling is unreliable, so reading alone will never fix pronunciation. That's why people who read a lot still mispronounce common words. Pronunciation improves when your ears are trained first and your mouth follows. Listening and speaking must grow together, otherwise you'll always feel off. One major problem is mother tongue interference. Your native language has its own sound system, rhythm, and stress patterns. When you speak English using those same patterns, your speech sounds unclear even if the words are correct. This is not a failure, it's expected. But it only improves when you consciously slow down and exaggerate clarity in the beginning. Word stress is far more important than perfect sounds. English is a stress-timed language, meaning some words are stressed and others are reduced. If you stress every word equally, your sentence sounds robotic and confusing. Fluent speakers stretch important words and soften unimportant ones. This rhythm carries meaning even when pronunciation is not perfect. Another critical mistake is whisper speaking English. Many learners speak softly because they're unsure. This kills clarity. Your mouth muscles don't fully activate, and sounds get swallowed. Speak slightly louder than comfortable during practice. Clear sound production builds muscle memory faster than quiet speech. You don't need phonetics charts to fix pronunciation. You need imitation and repetition. Pick one speaker whose English you understand easily. Listen to short sentences. Pause. Repeat out loud. Copy the rhythm, not just the words. This method is scientifically proven to rewire speech patterns faster than theory-based learning. Stop correcting every word while speaking. That breaks flow and increases anxiety. Pronunciation improves in cycles, not instantly. First comes awareness, then gradual correction. Fluency first, polishing later. This order matters. Also, accept this reality. Your accent may never disappear completely, and that's fine. Global English belongs to everyone now. What matters is that your listener doesn't struggle to understand you. If communication is smooth, your English is already successful. In the next part, we'll talk about vocabulary growth the smart way, how to sound advanced without memorizing useless word lists, and how to actually use new words in speech. Vocabulary that actually makes you sound fluent, not fake advanced. Most people collect vocabulary like trophies and then never use them. They memorize long word lists, feel smart for a moment, and completely forget those words in real conversations. That's because the brain doesn't store words in isolation. It stores words inside situations. Vocabulary that is not connected to usage is dead weight. Fluent speakers don't have massive vocabulary, they have usable vocabulary. They know which words appear again and again in daily speech, and they master those deeply. A single common verb used correctly in 10 situations is more powerful than 10 rare words used 0 times. Another huge mistake is learning dictionary meanings instead of functional meanings. Words change behavior based on context. When you learn a word with one rigid definition, your brain hesitates during usage because real-life situations don't match that definition exactly. That hesitation breaks fluency. You should learn vocabulary in chunks and collocations, not as single words. Native speakers don't say, "make a decision," because they know grammar. They say it because the words are glued together in their brain. These fixed patterns reduce thinking time and increase naturalness. Also, stop forcing advanced words to sound intelligent. That habit backfires. Overcomplicated language increases the chance of errors and reduces clarity. Intelligent communication is simple, precise, and confident. Real professionals simplify, not complicate. The smartest way to grow vocabulary is input-output cycling. First, hear or read a word in context. Then, repeat it out loud. Then, use it in your own sentence the same day. If a word doesn't reach your mouth within 24 hours, it will not become active vocabulary. Repetition is non-negotiable. The brain forgets aggressively. If you don't reuse a word multiple times across days, it disappears. That's not laziness, that's biology. Language learning rewards those who revisit, not those who rush. Another practical rule: don't learn words you wouldn't use in your native language. If you don't talk like a philosopher in daily life, why learn English like one? Learn words that match your personality, profession, and daily needs. That's how vocabulary sticks and feels natural. Finally, accept that sounding fluent is not about fancy words, it's about smooth sentence construction. Simple words arranged cleanly beat complex words arranged poorly. Always. In the next part, we'll build a daily speaking system, a realistic routine you can follow even with a busy life, no special environment, no partners required. The daily speaking system that actually works in real life. Most people fail at English because they rely on motivation instead of systems. Motivation is unstable. Systems are boring but effective. If your English improvement depends on mood, confidence, or free time, it will collapse sooner or later. What you need is a minimum effort, maximum consistency routine. The brain improves fastest with short, daily exposure. Not long sessions. Not perfect sessions. Just daily ones. Even 15 to 20 minutes of focused speaking every day beats 2 hours once a week. Frequency builds neural strength. Gaps destroy it. Start with solo speaking, because waiting for a speaking partner is a common excuse. You don't need anyone. Talk to yourself. Describe your thoughts, your plans, your opinions. This is not crazy, it's neurological training. Athletes visualize and talk through moves all the time. Language works the same way. Structure your practice into 3 phases: warm-up, expression, and refinement. Warm-up means simple sentences to get your mouth moving. Expression means talking freely without correction. Refinement means reviewing 1 or 2 mistakes after you finish, not during speaking. This prevents overthinking while still improving accuracy. Recording yourself is uncomfortable, but it's powerful. When you hear your own voice, your brain gets objective feedback. You'll notice patterns, not individual mistakes. Over time, clarity improves naturally. Avoid judging yourself emotionally. Treat it like data analysis. Don't chase perfection during practice. Practice is where you fail safely. Real conversations improve because practice already absorbed the mistakes. If you're trying to sound perfect during practice, you're wasting the opportunity. Also, rotate topics. Repeating the same topic daily limits vocabulary growth. Use everyday subjects, opinions, explanations, storytelling, summaries. Real English is about expressing ideas, not answering textbook questions. The most important rule: never skip speaking 2 days in a row. 1 missed day is normal. 2 missed days break momentum. Consistency is fragile. Protect it.